In last night's win over the Thunder, the number one seed in the NBA, the Warriors looked like the same ones that started the season 12-3. With a combination of better defense, good shot making, and ultimately timely coordination, the Warriors looked like the Warriors again. So let's review. One of the pillars of the Warriors' hot start to the season was good, aggressive defense. And when playing guys like SGA, it's obviously pretty hard to play effective defense. I mean, he did drop 52 points last night. But regardless, a lot of those were free throw attempts, and the Warriors still played pretty aggressively. Look how quickly they come to make this double, which forces SGA to make an errant pass that ultimately goes out of bounds when Lou Dort loses it. This type of aggressive defense is what Stackhouse tried to implement early in the season, and what the Warriors have fallen out of. Now, keep in mind that the Warriors are out Draymond and Kuminga, who are both on the bench, so it was really nice to see good defense. Another principle the Warriors live by is trying to prevent offensive players from getting straight into the middle, getting easy dribble penetration. And they've obviously had a pretty tough time of this, but look in this possession how Gui Santos really stays with SGA and doesn't allow him to get any of that penetration. And when you don't allow offensive players to penetrate your defense, you prevent easy kickouts, you prevent rotation, you prevent your defense from collapsing, and you force tougher shots like this, which, to be fair, SGA can usually make. But that's a good sign for the Warriors' defense. And again, let's look at this possession where SGA does beat GP2 and gets that first step and ultimately penetrates the defense. But because this is sometimes inevitable with good players, it's up to your help defense to make good rotations. So the first is that Pods immediately comes up. He tries to draw a charge, has his hands up, so likely would have drawn a charge. But the real help is from Looney, who also had an incredible game and comes with this pretty clutch block with 6 minutes left. Something else that was welcome this game was a really good performance from Andrew Wiggins, who's also been having a much better season this year than in the past two. While it hasn't really been good enough as a secondary scoring option, it's still been helpful in games like this where his length, size, and shooting are really useful. Now, the Warriors are going to set up in a post split. You can see that Kyle Anderson is coming to receive this post entry pass from Gui Santos. As we've covered before, what usually happens is this post entry pass, and then the man who makes that pass coming to set maybe a screen at the elbow for another forward or guard to come maybe run off that screen, take a shot, or maybe allow that player to go set another screen. In this case, it looks like Gui Santos is going to come set a screen for Wiggins, but that Wiggins is also coming to initiate some sort of action for Steph Curry. Ultimately, Steph is going to try and go back door, and you can see Kyle Anderson making this little head fake to get OKC to maybe commit into Steph running into this open space. But ultimately, he can't make this pass in time. This OKC defender has his hand up, which makes it pretty tough. And instead, what's going to happen is that Gui is going to come set a later screen for Wiggins to run off and ultimately get a pretty contested shot, but he's in his motion, and nonetheless, I think it shows that Wiggins has been pretty good this season in terms of shooting the three, especially when he's in rhythm. So it's nice to see the Warriors initiating action for Wiggins, as they're also going to do right here. The Warriors are in some sort of, maybe it looks like delay with Kevon Looney at the top. He makes this pass to Gui Santos, and it looks like he's going to come and quickly set a screen for Steph to run off of, which he ultimately does. But I think what's great to see is that the Warriors seem to trust Andrew Wiggins in these actions, as they're also setting a cross screen here for Wiggins to run into this corner. So the Warriors are actually going to set two screens, the first by Moody in the paint and the other by Looney in this left wing. And ultimately, Wiggins is going to be able to catch that and drain this three. And I think his shooting performance last night and an improved three-point shooting performance from Wiggins this entire season has been really crucial for the Warriors. Now, of course, also important this game was GP2 for reasons that we'll cover at the very end. But I wanted to showcase to you how useful he can be with his long wingspan and how he tends to hawk these passing lanes and read these actions before they happen. Obviously, with the Warriors sending this temporary two-man on this ball screen, GP2 knows that a pass is either going to be made here, maybe like a little pocket pass, or this ball is going to be swung all the way out here. And he senses that, but not only does he sense that, look how far outstretched his arms are to be able to not only intercept or be aware of this pass being made, but intercept it, which ultimately leads to a wide open dunk. GP2's been really great in some games, and I think maybe the main limitation with him has just been that he doesn't really provide a spacing threat or any scoring threat, which has often been the problem for the Warriors, especially when they fall in deep holes. But I think the play of the night was the monster jam by GP2. So let's look at how that play went down. Now it starts off with Kevon Looney setting this down screen for Curry to run up. Curry maybe can set a screen for Schroeder, or he can take the ball himself. If you look, it seems like he's motioning with his thumb for Schroeder to come off this screen that he's going to set. But OKC kind of sniffs this out. You can see that SGA has his body contorted in a way that denies Schroeder's ability to use this screen. So SGA is playing really high. He's really trying to prevent Schroeder from coming around here and initiating any action. But because of that, Schroeder recognizes this and instead can just blow by him. Usually, whenever you're playing a pick and roll coverage that does any sort of screen denial, you run the risk of your defender just blowing by, and that's exactly what happens here. Schroeder gets an inside step. SGA is like maybe one or half a step behind, but because of that, the defense has to collapse. Isaiah Joe, Hartenstein both have to come help off for Schroeder, who is wide open, and instead, what happens is that Gary Payton II, who's left wide open on this weak side because he's not really a shooting threat, has all this space to come and ultimately throw it down on Isaiah Hartenstein to put the Warriors up 9 and the game pretty much out of reach. And, the Warriors bench goes crazy. I think if Warriors fans should take away anything from a win like this, it's that when the Warriors are playing their best, most aggressive defense, when role players are hitting tough shots or any of their threes in general, and when Steph can have a average or above average game, as he did with a pretty excellent shooting performance in the second half, the Warriors can compete against anyone. But that's a lot of requirements, and the Warriors don't have that luxury every single night. It's just not realistic that they're going to shoot that well, that Pajemski, Wiggins, etc. are all going to have those types of shooting performances. And I think that's why Warriors fans have to be careful after games like this to not get complacent or too excited about the way the team is playing. Nonetheless, a really good win for the Warriors, a really awesome moment for GP2, and hopefully the start of a longer win streak. Thanks for watching.